Welcome to Will It Build, the series where I take your builds from my YouTube comments and Discord server and put them to the test to see if they are the real deal. If it's solid, then I'll gift you 1,000 silver, and if it's really something special, you'll be featured in a dedicated build video for your submitted build. So comment yours below so we can answer the question, will it build? It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you back to another episode of Will It Build, where today I am off the charts excited because this is one that I already know before we even test it out is going to be absolutely spectacular. I know it's going to be a strong build right out of the gate, and because it incorporates the brand new exotic SMG Barrow-Dyad, I have a full guide video on how to get this on my YouTube channel. By the way, I'll link it in the description below if you have not already acquired this weapon. But before I start telling you all about this build, I want to talk emblems. There is an emblem code hidden somewhere in this video. Just the code is on screen somewhere throughout the video, so keep your eyes peeled, see if you're the first one who can find it and redeem it on your account. I also want to tell you about another emblem that you can unlock simply by coming to my live stream, twitch.tv/Mactics, where we film all of these live and gifting one sub while I'm live playing Destiny 2. Literally, that's all you have to do, and you will have this emblem unlocked in your collections. This build submitted by Dexo combines the newly revamped Radiant Dance machines with the brand new exotic SMG Barrow-Dyad, and I know you might be nervous because you might have been hearing some talk about Radiant Dance machines recently and them getting nerfed. Do not worry, the nerf is exclusively in PvP. The upcoming patch balance update for Radiant Dance machines will not affect its performance in PvE in any capacity, so this build will be good to go for the long haul. Effectively, what the idea is with the new Radiant Dance machines, if you're not familiar with how they work, is they got changed so they no longer give you a 5-second timer of infinite dodging when you dodge that is increased whenever you kill enemies. Now it simply works where when you get kills with primary ammo weapons, you get dodge energy, which can actually overflow to give you bonus dodges. In fact, the way it works right now, you see I have 1 dodge. Killing rank and file enemies gets you 33% of the way to a dodge refill. So now you can see I have 2 dodges down below, and then if I kill another 3 enemies, you're going to see that I move up to 3 total dodges. You can get up to a maximum of 3 dodges. And the idea with this build, with the Barrow-Dyad, is we have a gun where we can shoot enemies to charge up Blight. And then if we reload the gun, that turns the Blight into Blighted Seekers. And then we can fly them all over the arena. But the reload doesn't necessarily have to be an actual reload to the gun. It can also be a reload with something like, say, for example, Marksman Dodge, and then you get to fly the Blighted Seekers. So the idea that's going on here is we are shooting a bunch of stuff to not only kill it to give us extra dodge charges and refund dodge with Radiant Dance machines, but to also charge up our Blight. And then we use our Marksman's Dodge, which we continuously get from refunds through primary ammo weapon kills through Radiant Dance machines, to load in those Blighted Seekers and rinse and repeat. So we're basically always firing Blighted Seekers, always Marksman's Dodging, always going invisible through some components of the build I'll show you in a brief moment. And I'm telling you right now, this build is going to be absolutely crazy. So as far as the build goes, I first want to look at Barrow-Dyad because with this being a craftable exotic SMG, there are intrinsic traits that we can get on this. This build does not require any of them. In fact, I don't have any of the intrinsics or perks yet, but once we get down the line and we figure out how to unlock these intrinsic traits, I think One for All is going to be a spectacular perk on this weapon, primarily because of the Taken Divergence trait, where we see hitting 3 different targets generates a large amount of Blight. So if we put One for All on this, not only are we going to be rewarded with a 35% damage buff whenever we hit 3 different targets to proc One for All, but we're also going to be generating significantly more Blight, so we can get Blighted Seekers active much more frequently. The base weapon generates Blight as it deals damage, and when you're not firing, you're going to lose Blight, but the magazine is gradually going to be refilled. Whenever we reload the weapon, as we displayed, whether it's actually reloading the weapon or doing something like Marksman's Dodge, it is going to convert that stored Blight into those Blighted Seekers. As far as the subclass goes, they have recommended Tether, which theoretically we are going to have up very, very frequently due to some of our mods. They've got us with, of course, Marksman's Dodge to reload the weapon, and they've got us with Threaded Spike, so we can chuck this thing, sever a bunch of enemies, and catch it to get the melee energy back. I'm going to show you a cool trick with Threaded Spike that allows you to always guarantee 100% of the time catch it, even if you're not even looking at it, even if you don't know where it is. They've got a set also with Arc Bolt Grenade, which admittedly I do question this one a little bit. This is one where I'm considering maybe we're going to change down the line, but of course we always use what the submitter recommends first before we even think about trying anything. We're working with Stylish Executioner and Winter Shroud, the two best Prismatic Hunter aspects. Anytime we slow targets, we get significantly increased ability regeneration, and dodging slows nearby targets, which debuffs them when we kill them. That'll make us invis through Stylish Executioner, which frankly will make us invis through any killing of any elementally debuffed enemy. Moving down to our fragments, we're kicking things off with the Facet of Bravery, where when we defeat targets with our grenade final blows, we get volatile rounds on our void weapons, which isn't particularly the most important thing, but what's huge for this is when we defeat targets with powered melee final blows, we get unraveling rounds to our strand weapons, which Barrow-Dyad is indeed a strand weapon. And that's also nice because if we have unraveling rounds spitting out of our strand weapon, that's going to unravel targets, aka elementally debuff them, which means when we kill them, invis through Stylish Executioner. We've also got the Facet of Hope. When we have an elemental buff, our class ability is going to regenerate more quickly. Not sure if this one is super necessary because in theory we should be getting all of the class ability energy in the world, but maybe if we're fighting tankier targets, I do see a world where this could be like a contingency plan for making sure we have marksman dodge up a little bit more frequently. Next, we have the Facet of Mending, where grenade final blows are going to cure us. When we get Arc Bolt Grenade final blows, we're going to cure us. Again, I think I'm going to change this grenade. I'll let you know what we change it to after we test out the Arc Bolt, but I got something that is going to synergize with this exceptionally well, at least in the blueprint up here. Number 4, we got Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power grants a buff to us depending on our super. Overshield in this case, which actually is nice because anytime we have Overshield, that is going to proc the effects of Facet of Hope. Finally, we have the Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits are going to make us radiant, which of course is going to give us a DPS buff on the weapon. Now coming over to our armor mods, they've got us set up with a Strand Siphon. Makes perfect sense. Most of our kills are being done with Barrow-Dyad, a Strand primary weapon. A Hands-On, so that when we get our Threaded Spike final blows, not only do we get unraveling rounds through the Facet of Bravery, but we also get bonus super energy, and they're sticking us with a Dynamo, reduce super cooldown when using our class ability near targets, which is going to be very frequent thanks to the Radiant Dance Machines. Going down to our gloves, heavy-handed, so we generate an Orb of Power anytime we get that same melee final blow, so we get bonus super energy, an orb, and unraveling rounds with melee final blows. Also got Focusing Strike for bonus class ability energy when we cause damage with a powered melee attack. They had Fastball here in the other slot, but me personally, I don't like using Fastball. I feel like Fastball, which just increases the grenade throw distance, it's one of those perks that either you're used to and you like, or you're not used to it and you don't like. So if you're not a fan of Fastball, I would encourage you to go Impact Induction, causing damage with a powered melee attack, reduce your grenade cooldown. If you do like Fastball, you can slot it in here. Chest is just going to be resistances depending on what damage the enemies that you're fighting deal. I always like going to Concussive Dampener and double elemental resistances. Down on the boots, they've got set up with double strand weapon surge, 17% damage bonus with strand weapons whenever we pick up an Orb of Power and a recuperation. And finally, on the class item, Reaper, powerful attraction for easy orb scoop up, and Bomber. Now, whilst this is the core build setup, there are some artifact mods that are not necessary for the build to function perfectly properly, but will amp up the power of it just a little bit. We are talking about unraveling rounds a little bit previously, and the unraveling orbs mod right down here, where when you pick up an orb of power or a tangle, you get unraveling rounds on your strand weapons, a bonus way to get unraveling rounds on your Barrow-Dyad, considering how often we're making orbs of power and scooping them up with powerful attraction. So we can either get our unraveling rounds from this artifact mod or from the Facet of Bravery. Additionally, Horde Shuttle is absolutely go to this season. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. So the idea here is the Barrow-Dyad is going to be unraveling everything permanently, making us invis permanently, and creating loads and loads of Threadlings. So, to answer that question, will it build? We have loaded into the brand new Sunder Doctrine dungeon, the second encounter, solo, where I'm going to try out something a little unorthodox. Typically, the idea with this encounter is you want all the wheels on stop to spawn as few adds as possible. I'm going to intentionally spawn as many adds as possible to really put this sucker to the test. So, I think the idea here is we're going to go ahead and throw our melee, so we go ahead and proc Radiance, and then we can start getting kills with the Barrow-Dyad. Going to start spraying them. There's our unraveling orbs. That also gives us another reason to open with the melee kill, is for those unraveling orbs, because whenever we get a powered melee final blow, that is going to give us those rounds. And right when I get fully loaded, that's when we're going to shoot the Blight Seekers. And whenever I'm out of ammo, we're going to hit a little dodge. That loads the Blight Seekers. And as long as I'm always killing stuff, we're always loading Blight Seekers. I like the recuperation pick a lot here as well, with the idea that we're always like 24/7 proccing Reaper, which means like you're just, the idea is kill dodge, kill dodge, kill dodge, kill dodge. The idea of permanently proccing Reaper plus powerful attraction, and that powerful attraction then picking up the orb, I like a lot. Also, another thing to mention as well, with the constant dodging, Reaper, orb creation, recuperation pickup, we're also always picking them up, so we always have armor charge, so we always have that 17% damage boost on the Barrow-Dyad. Look at all these unraveling rounds and threadlings go. The unraveling rounds is always going to exist with the build, but all of those bonus threadlings, that's a product of Horde Shuttle from the artifact, which feels so good. So here's the change we're going to make that I was alluding to previously. This Arc Bolt Grenade, I'm not vibing with. One, just because I feel like, generally speaking, Arc Bolt Grenade is not that great. I mean, if we wanted to theoretically pair it with something like Dominance, where Arc Grenades jolt targets, then I can maybe see a use case for it a little bit more in that circumstance, but I'm not digging it too much here. What I would rather do instead, honestly, is I want to try out two changes. Change number one is I want to change this Arc Bolt Grenade into a Grapple Grenade for two reasons. One, it gives us way more mobility with the build, which, since it is a very close range build, prioritizing primarily SMG damage, it makes a lot more sense to easily be able to go in and get out of fights. Two, the grapple melee on the Grapple Grenade counts as a melee final blow, which is important because that means that our Grapple Grenade melee kills can now count for the Facet of Bravery as another way to give unraveling rounds to our Barrow-Dyad. Furthermore, I also want to try out changing my Deadfall Tether to Golden Gun Marksman. I know that we are not working with Celestial Nighthawk right now, which is typically when you would equip this, but I do want to see how that feels with the bonus healing from the Facet of Purpose, giving us restoration instead of overshield. You'll also notice I haven't mentioned or pulled out my secondary or heavy weapons whatsoever yet. That's because with this build, I think the world's your oyster. You can equip and use whatever you want. So we're gonna move in a little bit more, fire away, kill that guy. I mean, look at all the unraveling going around. Like, the unraveling is effectively... So, what's funny is, this build is kind of working the way... It's kind of employing the on-the-prowl aspect to a certain degree. The brand new one, where anytime you go invisible, it marks a target, and if you kill that target, you create that smoke cloud. It's kind of employing that type of identity, except instead of the game marking a target for you, it's the unraveling rounds marking a target for you, because then if you kill the target that's unraveled, it's going to make you go invis. Instead of just marking one target, it markets all the targets, because unraveling rounds love to spread to everyone else. So you're basically just kind of like roaming around like this like stealthy assassin, kind of picking your moment to strike. Ogre spawns, pop the Goldie. Yes, we don't have Nighthawk on, but like Goldie is still respectable, even though I hit 3 body shots. And this is making the survivability of the build feel a lot nicer, because we have a lot more mobility. We have more ways to proc the unraveling rounds, and more ways to proc the unraveling rounds ultimately just leads to more ways to paint all the enemies with unraveled. Here we are in a bit of a sticky situation, but I think we'll be okay. We'll just laser him to get some blight stacking, and then cook him. Laser him to get some blight stacking. I want to try and hit all 3 targets so that I get the big chunk of blight. Oh, we have our super back already? Okay. Dodge right there. Kill that debuffed enemy right there that was slowed by our dodge to go invis. Throw that to get our unraveling rounds, and that'll make an orb of power for us as well. Another way to proc recuperation and restoration. Yeah, we are currently solo flawlessing the brand new dungeon with just a primary ammo weapon. Let's get a couple kills right here, hit a little dodge, ready up those the big boy rounds. Go invis, because we have unraveling. Like, look at what unraveling's doing to all the enemies. Did you see, like, all the green bolts flying everywhere? Even if it's not killing all of them, it's just painting everything with unraveling, so we go invis no matter who we kill. This is a extremely good build. What about swapping Winter Shroud with Threaded Spectre for 3 clones? That's actually not a terrible idea. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. I do want to test it elsewhere, though. So let's hop into, actually, if we're going to test that one, let's hop into the exotic mission itself and see how that change feels. So, Threaded Spectre now put on. This is going to be a little interesting because we got a lot of Tormentors going on. Oh, yep, right there. What's up? I'm genuinely curious how this gun performs against Tormentors. It's very okay. Hit a dodge. There's the Threaded Spectre. Let the Blights go out. Hit another dodge. Kill a bunch more enemies. Now we have 2 dodges to work with. I don't even know what's going on right now. Everything's just dying in 2 seconds. There's that. Okay. Hit another dodge. Oh, it's another Torm. He likes our clone. He's a fan. Wait, the clones are actually nice for the Tormentors, because the Tormentor just looks at the clone. All right, now we're going to have a bunch of tanky enemies. So here comes the true test. Tangle, grapple, miss. Throw that for our unraveling rounds. Threaded Spike. Hit our dodge. Okay, we want to hit 3 different enemies so we get the big chunk of Blight. I don't even, like, okay... How do I phrase this? I'm not really aiming at the enemy. I'm just kind of spraying the gun around with the lights, if that makes sense. I'm not really actually aiming at anything. I'm just kind of like... do the lights do self-damage? That's something I'm curious about. No, they don't, which is excellent. Yeah, I wouldn't say you have to use Goldie with this. I do think you can use whatever super you want. I just love the idea of Goldie because of how many orbs we're getting. Every single orb gives us restoration, so we're basically always max HP. And on top of that, we always have a buff, which means Facet of Hope is always procced. Although I'm not sure how I feel about needing Facet of Hope. It doesn't really feel that necessary. What would we replace Facet of Hope with? I mean, we could just straight up go Protection instead of Hope. That would be kind of nice. I'm also not entirely sure if we really need Facet of Mending all that much either. What if we throw on Solitude, landing rapid precision hits amidst a severing blast from a target for like tankier enemies? So now we can spawn Threadlings. We've got Unraveling, and we can Sever. I'm just saying, that could be kind of saucy. And you know what's another nice thing about having Grapple Grenade on as well? Not just to have the Grapple Melee to proc the Facet of Command, but the Grapple Melee is also going to proc the Facet of Dawn. It's also going to proc Hands On. It's also going to proc Heavy Handed. It procs any powered melee-based mod and any powered grenade-based mod, just like Threaded Spike does. Speaking of Threaded Spike, remember when I told y'all I was going to show you a way to 100% of the time guarantee that you catch Threaded Spike no matter what? So if you stare down in the bottom left side of my screen, look at what happens to the icon when the Threaded Spike starts to return to me. You're going to notice that it goes from a gray icon into the reverse, like it's flipped on its x-axis of what the icon currently is, and it'll light up green. So check this out. Watch carefully. Right when you see it flip and turn green, that is your indicator that you're allowed to click the button to catch it. And it's so good, by the way, that you can literally turn around and just stare at that icon and catch it. Make sure you subscribe and like the video if you didn't know that. I really like this with the Strand clone, by the way, because the Strand clone not only just kind of like nukes these enemies, but it also just allows me to play directly in everything's face, and no one can do anything about me. Like, none of the enemies can touch me. No one can do anything because they're all just focused on the clone. So right here, once again, dodge, that puts out the clone, and then doesn't matter how close range I'm playing, they only care about the clone. Which means I can just sit here and blast them, and they're not going to touch me. Give me that max blight. More max blight, hit the dodge. Oh yeah, look, go ahead and focus on the clone, or the other clone, or the third clone, or the fourth clone. He wasn't even shooting at any of them. He was so confused. He was, oh,
leave me alone.
Oh god. The one slight issue that you might run into here is all of the unraveling and all of the threadlings killing everything does take away the kill. Like, those don't count as primary ammo weapon final blows and thus won't refund class ability charges. But something that y'all have been watching the videos for a while have probably heard me say plenty of times. If your issue is that you're killing all of the enemies too quickly, I don't think you really have that big of an issue. So, will it build? Absolutely yes, and I hope to see your build as well. If you have something that you think would be absolutely spectacular in Destiny, all you have to do is join my Discord server linked in the description below. Submit your build in the Will It Build channel. We'll check it out if we think it looks cool, and if we like it, you win 1,000 silver. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see even more builds. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.